there's some really powerful stories in there. And there's a lot of like difficult topics that you cover.
Yes.
What was the most difficult thing to put pen to paper with?
I think the most difficult topic to cover was TJ's injury. I had sleepless nights writing about those chapters. Those were the chapters that they pulled at my heart. Because they were really, even with the stuff that, we think about the Hart family, you think about all the things, there's been highs and lows.
Yeah.
Owen's death was very tragic. My dad and his struggles, growing up with a parent that my dad struggled his whole entire adult life. And so I had so much instability when I was a kid that I've never shared. I've never shared any of it until writing this book, that people were like, oh, I had no idea that for 2 years, my sisters and my mom and I lived at my grandfather's house, and we shared a bed. We shared one bed, and we all four slept in that bed for 2 years because my dad had lost everything. And so my mom was trying to create some stability for us, and we were never, ever homeless. We lived at the Hart house, but there was only one available room, and so it really taught me about, like, I got to sink or swim. You know what I mean? Those were hard chapters to write about because I talk a lot about my dad's addiction and the things that we went through. And it was just, those were hard, but they were nothing like writing about TJ's chapters of his injury and what we went through. And
you were right there for it.
I was there
right there at ringside when it happened.
I was there for all of it. And it was just so, and the big thing was just, I know how much TJ loves wrestling. So when I saw right in the snap of a finger, everything was just gone.
Did you know right away?
I just knew
when Joe hit the muscle buster. Did you know that TJ was injured?
I knew TJ couldn't move, so I knew he couldn't move. And he said, because Cesaro was trying to talk to him, and he couldn't move. He literally just wouldn't. I knew he wasn't okay. I knew by the way his hands kind of everything just was curled. You know what I mean? Almost for a split second. I don't want to get too dramatic, but he didn't look it didn't look like a normal landing. His body just looked different. Sometimes if you hit a spider, they kind of curl up a little bit. It looked like he landed in a way that his body didn't look natural and at ease. Because when TJ first landed, he was paralyzed for 10 seconds. And so Claudio tried to grab him to pull him out of the ring, and TJ said, "Don't touch me. Don't touch me." And then he ended up, TJ was, after being paralyzed for 10 seconds, TJ was able to regroup. He got up, he launched himself out of the ring. And that's the thing, is that when you saw the way that TJ was, and I write a lot about it and I go into detail again, don't want to give it all away, but when I saw how TJ was acting, he wasn't acting like someone that broke his neck. He was when you think of somebody that is injured, they're limping, they're vulnerable, they're crying, TJ was angry.
I think we envision it as he breaks his neck in the ring, the match immediately would stop, put him on a board, put him into an ambulance and take him away. I was shocked to learn that he walked out of the ring, walked to the back, took a shower.
Yeah, he was very angry, and it was because he was scared. And so that's the thing, is that people deal with trauma in different ways. You know what I mean? So for example, when I broken my ankle many years ago, 2016, small little injury, but I remember just being so scared. I wanted the whole match to just end right then and there. TJ, I think because of being paralyzed, it scared him. It scared him in a way that he was it went from fear to rage. So once he was not paralyzed anymore, he was the fear turned into rage. So people really didn't know that he had a broken neck because he was walking around normal. He's walking around, and he was just very, very angry and scared, and all of it was just coming out all at once. But those were hard chapters to write about, because I just knew once we found out, from the doctors, that TJ had this type of injury, they were the one doctor was so blunt. He was "Oh yeah, you're never ever wrestling again. You have to find another profession." He was very, very cold and blunt. And I wrote about it in the book, but I just looked at Cesaro, because Cesaro was with us at the hospital. Cesaro had a tear rolling down his face. And, because you saw like, everybody that knows TJ just knows that he loves this.
Yeah.
And Cesaro just knew that that was like a death. And losing something that you love so much, there was a grieving there too.
Yeah.
And I also will say, just adding this, and I wrote about this in the book, my heart broke for Samoa Joe because nobody wants to ever go through anything like that. That was the last thing in the world that he wanted. He is somebody that in the industry, Joe, I believe, and I have a pretty good pulse on the industry, not just in WWE, Joe is very respected. He's a great guy. He's like the guys love Joe. He's got a great reputation. He's a great person. He loves the industry. He's very honorable. So it was the last thing in the world that Joe wanted. So my heart also broke for Joe because I just always felt so bad that he had to carry that too. And people had, people say mean things all the time to all of us on social media, but that's the last thing in the world that Joe wanted. So it just kind of like, I always had a little spot in my heart for him after that because I was like, he didn't want that, and nobody wanted it. It was a shitty situation. Nobody across the board wanted that to happen, but it happened. And it was something that we had to go through. And I will say, and I've said this before on your show, TJ's injury led him to, I think, the best chapter of his career because he has been able to reach so many more people in WWE and in wrestling and in the world by doing the stuff that he's doing now. I think unfortunately, it was part of his destiny, and you gotta, sometimes you can't fuck with your destiny. You gotta let it happen. And then you gotta let it help you grow.
Everybody wrestles their last match at some point in time. Unfortunately, not everybody knows when that last match is.
Right.
So like that was 10 years ago, this summer, right? June 1st, 2015.
Yep.
TJ went out there not knowing that would be the last time he would ever wrestle.
And TJ said that to me before because I'll get, upset about certain things, or I'll be like, this match could have been better, or I'm annoyed about this, or I want this to be better, or I wish I could do this. Or TJ goes, Natty, he goes, when it's all said and done, he goes, I don't think about the creative. I don't think about winning or losing. I don't think about the times that I didn't like a match. I don't even think about any of it. He goes, you know what I think about now that it's all said or done? He goes, I think about the moments with the boys in the locker room. He goes, I think about the bus rides that we've had in Europe where we'll all be on a big bus and Undertaker will be telling stories and you have everybody's, joking, or somebody like, he's like all that, he'll be laughing his ass off with Jey Uso because we were the Usos' introduction, but the Usos are so much fun. Like they're fun people to like hang out with. He's like, I think about the bus rides in Europe. I think about being with the boys in the locker room. I think about the guys, the girls. I think about like he's like, I think about the people, he thinks about the talent. When I say guys and girls, I mean the men and women of WWE that we've worked with, had relationships, built bonds, all that stuff. We were the Usos' first feud. TJ loves his matches with, he goes back and watches these old matches of him he loved this triple threat between him and Cesaro and Dolph Ziggler. Loved it. And he goes back, he's like, I just love those moments with the boys. He's like, you'll never think about the bullshit. You'll think about the good stuff. Cause he's like, he's like, you never know. You never know when it's going to be the last time. And that's why TJ to this day, he still changes with the talent. He still changes with the men in the men's locker room because they have a place for the producers to change. And then they have, but TJ's always, I think just because he got injured, he's like, no, but I still need to change with the boys. Yeah. When you get to the building, he comes in a suit, he does the production meeting, and then he still changes with the guys in the locker room because he just, the relationships and the bonds that he has with the wrestlers and the talent, they never died. They're always there.